Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Friday. Grab yourself a easy for me to say. Grab yourself a cup of coffee. I will be right there. Good morning. Whoa, look at that. Somebody forgot to turn the light on. Boom. Good morning, my friends. Welcome to Men Up with Mike. My name is Mike Cameron, and I will be your host. So come on in. Let's have a conversation today. It's Friday. What is going on in your world? Good morning, and drop me a note in the comments and let me know you are here. I am going to get set up on all the platforms. Make sure I can see you guys everywhere. Oh, look at that. Wait. There we are. Now that's better. That is better. Jared is always curious, but I have found many are expecting to be judged. You know, it's fascinating the amount of times that I even will jump to that judgment place, and I really have to grab on to curiosity is one of my top values for sure. And curiosity over judgment is a mantra that I use. And for me, I will find myself needing to tap into that on a fairly regular basis. So today, I want to talk a little bit more about this concept of curiosity over judgment and how it can work for you in the context of business and sales. And this was all based on a thread I got involved with on LinkedIn, and I'm curious to see how this one plays out. It just happened this morning, so I made a couple of comments, and I'll share that with you. Oops, yes, I forgot to turn the music down. It should be good now. Sorry about that, guys. It's Friday. It's Friday. We had a Christmas party last night via Zoom, and I may have had one more beer than I usually do, so the brain's maybe a little foggy this morning. Today's going to be a bit of a short one. I've got a few calls I've got to make right away here, but I wanted to spend a little bit of time with you this morning. And this interchange, this interaction that I had on LinkedIn, I thought was a perfect opportunity for a real world example of discussing this concept of curiosity over judgment. Good morning, Jamie. How are you, my friend? What are you guys up to this weekend? I'm curious. Poets. What is poets again, Anne? I know you've told us this before, but I can never remember. Anyways, let's talk about what happened this morning for me. Have you got your coffee? Are you settled in? Sit back, relax, lean in. You know what? Do me a favor, if you're enjoying these shows, show me a little love, hit that like button wherever you're watching, whether it's LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. If you're following me on Facebook or watching me on Facebook and you haven't followed my business page yet, I would appreciate it if you would do that, Mike David Cameron, and share this sucker. Poets, piss on everything. Tomorrow's Saturday. Nice. I feel like every day is Saturday for you, though, Anne. You're retired, right? Isn't every day Saturday? All right, friends. Once again, I would appreciate it if you would show me a little love, hit that like button, share these videos. If you enjoy them, hop on over to the website, mikecameron.ca, and sign yourself up. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about it. So this morning, as I was scrolling through LinkedIn, I came across a thread by a fellow. You know what? I don't even follow him, so I don't know how it came up. Somebody I follow must have commented or something. But he had posted a heavily redacted exchange that he had via email with a prospect. And he had sent an email requesting, again, it was a business prospecting email. And he addressed it, hey, so-and-so. And then he went into his sales pitch. And the reply was fairly formal and said something to the extent of, do I know you? Hey seems to be a pretty informal way to address a CEO, business to business. And this individual's post was reflecting on how he tends to be much more informal in his communication. He said, I'm the guy that wears tank tops over dress shirts because function over fashion. Especially in COVID times, he talked about he's the kind of guy that when you sit beside him on a plane, he's going to engage in a conversation with you. He's just a friendly, outgoing dude. And that was why he used terms like hey in his correspondence. It was really interesting because there was so much condemnation of how this CEO replied to him. Again, it was very formal. Kind regards, or with respect and regards, so-and-so is how they signed off. So again, it was very polite. It was overly formal, but this guy was defending his right to be overly informal because that's who he is. And it was interesting to see that just about everybody that jumped on the comment thread did the same thing and said, wow, how did this person get to be a CEO so stuck up and clearly just wants to demonstrate their power? And at some point in the comment thread, I think he disclosed or identified that this CEO was a woman and he's a man. So, my initial thought was, I always try and come at these things with a lens of empathy. Like I said, there was a lot of judgment about how the CEO replied to him, that it was very formal and very, staunch. It definitely wasn't the way I would have replied. But in defending this individual's right, in the original poster, in defending his right to be informal because that's who he was also shitting all over this individual's right to be who they are, and maybe they're just overly formal. I thought it was fascinating that nobody saw the irony in that here they are shitting all over this person because defending this guy's right to be informal because that's who he is, yet they were judging this individual for themselves. And I just thought, again, when I reply to these kinds of things, especially when I'm making an outgoing business proposition, this is somebody that I'm hoping to do business with, I'm going to come at that with a lens of empathy. And my reply would have been something along the lines of, if that individual had replied to me with this sort of overly formal and condemning my informal nature, rather than take it to LinkedIn to judge the shit out of it, I would have replied with, no, we don't know each other. My apologies if I offended you with my informalness. The hey is really just my nature. I'm happy to adopt a much more formal tone if that's how you prefer to do business. I still think my product or service might be excellent for your organization. Would you be open to a phone call? And get curious, right? You just don't know. Like I said, he had disclosed it somewhere in these comment threads that the CEO was a woman. So who knows? Maybe she's taken a shit kicking her entire career by men who talked down to her. Maybe she felt like this guy's use of hey would not have happened if she were a male CEO. We don't know. Again, not saying that it's a bad thing that he addressed it that way. I'm just suggesting that we have no idea what her reply is, yet we're very quick to judge that reply. And again, I found it fascinating. This is a guy that prides himself as being a good business leader. And I thought, how do you not see the hypocrisy, the irony in what you were saying? And if your intent truly is to gain business, then come at it with curiosity. Come at it with empathy. Learn why she was so offended by your hey. to me, that's fascinating. And I would be much more curious to know, what was it about me saying, hey, Anne, I would like to start a business relationship with you that, you found offensive as a CEO. If I should have thought, oh, Anne, woman, man, child doesn't matter. But you know what? The flip side of that, Anne, is if someone gets offended by hey and feels they should be addressed more formally, that's all right too. Like, again, who are we to judge that? That's my point. Like, they are equally being judged. Jorgen, how are you, my man? How are you? They're equally being judgy, and it boggles my mind that people don't see the hypocrisy in judging somebody for judging them. Again, let's come at it with empathy. Let's come at it with curiosity. And then maybe we can find some common ground. Maybe we can find some understanding, and maybe we can't. And maybe they're just never destined to do business together because they're two different types of individuals. And that is A-okay. But when we start with, curiosity and empathy, we're much better positioned to actually move the needle, to actually make things happen. So that is my rant for the day. That is my thought for the day. I would love to hear from you guys. Where can you get more curious in your life and less judgmental? Are there opportunities to do that? Can you carry that mantra, curiosity over judgment, with you every single day? And when you find yourself in a position where, because we all do it, something comes across our desk, something comes across our life that we're like, oh my God, why would they do that? Or I just can't even fathom that. Where can you get more curious about where are they coming from? What's their side of the equation? What's their side of the story? There's probably a reason why they're acting that way. So rather than judging it, what if you got curious about it? And I find we could get so much more done, even if we're talking about the Black Lives Matter, anti-racism, that kind of thing, rather than condemning the racists, which again, I'm not making any excuse for that. Let's get curious. Like, why do you feel that way? Why? I don't get it personally. But judging and condemning really isn't going to move the needle. It's not really going to change things. But when we can get curious about, why do people believe that somebody is less than because of the color of their skin? If we start to understand that, now maybe we can start to move the needle on that. And we can address that root cause, that root issue that's actually causing that behavior. And so, in fact, we have to get curious in order to solve those problems. And for so many of us, we jump directly to judgment and easy for me to say. We jump directly to judgment and condemnation. So where can you get more curious? Jamie says, I'm already very much empathetic to everyone. I like to help others, so I get curious about how I can make their day better. I will smile and kill people with kindness. Nice, Jamie. Anne says, like the old saying, you don't know unless you've walked a mile in their shoes. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just easy to forget that. It's easy to forget that. So I look for ways for me to remind myself to get curious. Get curious, get curious, get curious. And I use that judgment piece as a trigger. Anytime I find myself getting judgy, I just flip that. Okay, let's get curious, Mike. What would that look like if you got curious about that thing that you're about to judge? What would that look like? All right, my friend, I got a few phone calls to make today. It's been a very good week. How about you guys? What is going on today? You got one more day to make beautiful shit happen before the weekend. If you're working, I hope you can do that. If you're at home, well, most of us are at home these days. So if you're at home with the kids, I hope you can make beautiful shit happen with the kids. But as always, my friend, continue to make beautiful shit happen. And